I know exactly where you are sitting right now, my child. I know the heaviness that is pressing down on your chest, making it hard to take a deep, full breath. You thought you were alone in this room, alone with your racing thoughts and your tired heart. But I am right here with you. I have been watching you carry a burden that was never meant for your shoulders. I see the quiet tears you cry when no one else is looking, the ones you quickly wipe away before anyone can ask if you are okay. You have become so good at pretending that you are strong. You smile for your family. You show up for your responsibilities. And you tell your friends that you are just fine. But I look past the brave face you wear. I look directly into the deep, aching exhaustion that has settled into your bones. You are entirely burned out. You are running on empty, pouring from a cup that ran dry a very long time ago. I see the exact moment your energy gave out. I see how hard you have fought to keep everything together, to be the glue holding the broken pieces of your life from shattering completely. But lately, the weight has simply become too much. It feels as though you are walking through thick mud, where every single step requires more strength than you have left to give. You wake up in the morning already feeling defeated by the day ahead. The passion that used to light up your spirit has been replaced by a dull, constant ache of survival. You are not just physically tired. Your very soul is fatigued. You have prayed, you have pleaded, and you have waited, but the circumstances surrounding you have refused to change. I know the specific pain that is breaking your heart today. Perhaps it is a marriage that feels more like a battlefield than a sanctuary, where the silence between you and the one you love is louder than any argument. You have tried to fix it, tried to communicate, tried to mend the emotional distance, but you feel completely unseen and utterly unappreciated. Or perhaps it is your calling, the very purpose you thought I gave you, which has now turned into a source of endless frustration. The doors remain closed, the opportunities have vanished, and you are left wondering if you heard me wrong in the first place. You feel stuck in a hallway with no exit, staring at a wall that refuses to move. And worst of all, you are wrestling with the heavy, suffocating burden of my apparent silence. You have cried out to me in the middle of the night. You have searched the scriptures, you have asked for a sign, and you have begged for just a sliver of direction. But the heavens have felt like brass. You feel as though your prayers are bouncing off the ceiling and falling back to the floor, empty and unanswered. It hurts you deeply. You wonder if I have forgotten you. You wonder if I am angry with you, or if you somehow missed your chance, and I have simply moved on to bless someone else. I know the agony of feeling ignored by the God you have trusted. I know how the silence amplifies your insecurities, creating a perfect echo chamber for the enemy's lies to bounce around in your mind. Because the silence is so heavy, and the situation feels so painfully permanent, you have reached a breaking point. I know what you are contemplating right now. I see the bags you have already packed in your mind. You are standing at the edge of your limit, looking down at the very real temptation to just walk away from it all. You want to walk away from the relationship that drains you. You want to abandon the dream that seems dead. You want to let go of the faith that currently feels more like a heavy chain than a pair of wings. You are telling yourself that if you just leave, if you just drop it all and escape, you will finally find some relief. The urge to quit is pulling at you with a magnetic force. It feels like the only logical option left. You reason with yourself, saying that nobody could possibly expect you to keep enduring this level of emotional pain. You have convinced yourself that quitting is simply a form of self-preservation. You are tired of being the only one trying, the only one hoping, the only one waiting for a miracle that never seems to arrive. The panic has set in, a frantic, quiet desperation that whispers in your ear, telling you to run before you completely fall apart. You want to surrender not to me, but to the overwhelming despair. You want to throw in the towel, close the door behind you, and never look back. But my precious child, I am stepping in front of the door right now. I am intercepting your panic. I am placing my hand over your trembling heart and asking you to stop. Please, just stop running for a moment. Do not take another step toward the exit. I am not speaking to you out of anger or disappointment. I am speaking to you out of a fierce, protective, and overwhelming love. I see your desire to give up, and I am not condemning you for feeling weak. I know you are fragile right now, but I am asking you with all the tenderness of a father who sees his child standing on the edge of a cliff, do not leave yet. If you leave now, you could lose the very thing you have been agonizing over. I need you to listen to me very carefully. I have something critical to tell you, something that will change the way you see this entire struggle. The urge to flee is a lie disguised as relief. True peace will not be found in walking away from where I have planted you. I know it feels completely unbearable right now. I know your logic is screaming at you to escape the discomfort, but I am asking for your trust just a little bit longer. Do not let the exhaustion make this permanent decision for you. You are on the verge of making a choice based on temporary feelings of burnout, a choice that could derail the beautiful unseen work I am quietly doing right beneath the surface of your pain. I want you to take a deep breath. Feel the gentle shift in the atmosphere around you. That is my presence, pushing back the thick, suffocating clouds of anxiety that have been choking your spirit. I am here to lift your chin and look directly into your tear-filled eyes. Put down the bags. Unclench your fists. Lower your defenses. You do not have to fight this battle today, and you certainly do not have to run away from it. I am asking you to stay. I am asking you to sit quietly with me in this space, even if nothing makes sense right now. Let the frantic beating of your heart begin to slow. Stop planning your escape and simply let me hold you in this exact moment. I know your mind is racing with 1,000 questions. You want to know why this is happening, why the timeline is dragging on so long, and why you have had to shed so many tears in the dark. I will answer those silent cries of your heart. But first, I need you to agree to simply listen. Do not rush ahead. Do not try to figure out the ending of a story I am still carefully writing. I know you feel completely stuck, anchored to a season that brings you no joy. You look around and see a barren wasteland, a holding pattern that feels entirely devoid of purpose or movement. But your eyes are deceiving you. What you are experiencing is not what it appears to be. Give me your attention. Put your anxious thoughts to rest, and let me show you what is actually happening in the quiet shadows of this waiting room. You look around the barren landscape of your current circumstances, and your mind tells you that nothing is happening. You see only closed doors, unanswered prayers, cold shoulders, and silent skies. You have labeled this period of your life as a wasteland, a massive, unfortunate detour from the destiny you thought you were supposed to be living by now. You call it an empty season. But, my child, I need you to look closer. What you are staring at is merely an illusion. You are judging the activity of my hand solely by what is visible on the surface, forgetting that the most profound growth always happens in the dark, hidden deep beneath the soil, where human eyes cannot easily penetrate. I see the specific bitterness that has slowly taken root in your heart, a quiet resentment that you try to hide even from yourself. I know exactly how much it hurts to watch everyone else around you seemingly step into their promised lands, while you are left standing in the wilderness. You see your friends celebrating answered prayers. You watch other people's families thrive, their careers expand, their health recover, and their relationships blossom. Every time you witness someone else receiving the very miracle you have been desperately begging for, A heavy rock drops into your stomach. The enemy whispers in those vulnerable moments, telling you that you have been left behind. He taunts you with the lie that you are somehow less favored, that you have missed your window of opportunity, or worse, that I am actively withholding good things from you because of some past mistake you made. I want to systematically tear down that lie right now. My silence in your life does not equal my absence. Just because you cannot hear my voice roaring through the clouds or see an immediate shift in your daily reality does not mean I have abandoned you to figure this out on your own. I am intimately present in this quiet space. I am walking with you through this exact corridor. The reason you have not heard the loud, dramatic answer you are looking for is not because I am ignoring you, but because I am engaged in the delicate, quiet work of protective preparation. You must begin to trust my timing, understanding that my perspective spans eternity, while yours is currently limited to the exhaustion of today. Right now, you view this unchanging situation as a dead end. You feel like a ship stranded at sea with no wind in its sails. But I am asking you to change the lens through which you view this stagnation. What you perceive as a frustrating delay is actually a divine shield. The holding pattern that you despise with every ounce of your being is currently doing a magnificent job of protecting you. You are frustrated because you cannot move forward, but you do not see what is waiting just ahead on the road. There are complexities, challenges, and intense spiritual battles tied to the very blessing you are demanding. If I were to open the door today, the sudden pressure of that new chapter would overwhelm your current capacity. I love you far too much to hand you a blessing that would ultimately crush you. Think about the heavy armor required for the next season of your life. You are asking to step onto a battlefield of greater responsibility, deeper relationships, or a higher calling. But your spiritual muscles are not yet strong enough to carry the weight of that assignment. If I answered your prayer prematurely, the victory would be short-lived, quickly turning into a burden you could not sustain. I am using this frustrating silence to keep you safely tucked away while I build your endurance. You are not stuck. You are being shielded. I am actively holding you back from walking into environments, conversations, and spiritual warfare that you are simply not yet equipped to survive. When you begin to see this season not as a punishment, but as a deliberate loving strategy, everything changes. I want you to trade your feelings of rejection for a sense of purposeful curiosity. Instead of waking up and asking why you are still trapped here, I want you to start asking what I am building inside of you while you wait. I am using this time as a divine incubator. Just as a child is hidden in the dark, quiet safety of the womb until their lungs are strong enough to breathe the air of the outside world, I have hidden you in this season to develop your spiritual lungs. I am expanding your capacity to trust me, to lean on me, and to find your true identity solely in my unconditional love, rather than in your accomplishments, your relationships, or your bank account. The stagnation you feel is actually the heavy, invisible work of fortification. I am pouring concrete into the foundation of your faith. I am making sure that when the storms of the next chapter inevitably hit your roots, will be driven so deeply into my truth that absolutely nothing will be able to uproot you. The people you are constantly comparing yourself to, the ones who seem to be sprinting ahead, have their own unique foundations being built for their own unique callings. You cannot measure your progress with someone else's ruler. I have a highly specific, customized blueprint for your life and the materials required for your future. Take time to forge. I am working diligently beneath the surface of your circumstances, doing the slow, essential work that simply cannot be rushed. I know it is incredibly difficult to sit still. Human nature demands immediate gratification, instant answers, and quick fixes to uncomfortable feelings. But I'm asking you to gently let go of your timeline. The bitterness you carry is a direct result of trying to force your schedule onto my sovereign plan. It is exhausting to constantly fight against the current of my timing. I am inviting you to stop striving. Stop exhausting yourself trying to break down a door that I have specifically locked for your own safety. The moment you realize that this delay is actually a profound demonstration of my paternal love, the heavy chains of impatience will begin to fall away from your mind. I want you to feel the emotional shift taking place right now. Allow the warmth of this revelation to melt the icy resentment you have been carrying toward this season. You are not being punished. You have not been forgotten. You are not missing out on your destiny. You are exactly where you need to be, held securely in the center of my protective will. The intensity of your situation is not a sign of my anger. It is the absolute evidence of my careful, meticulous craftsmanship. I am taking my time with you because you are incredibly valuable to me. I am refining you, shaping you, and preparing you to carry a weight of glory that will entirely eclipse the pain of this current waiting period. As you begin to grasp the magnitude of this deliberate preparation, you will naturally start to wonder what incredible things I am actually getting you ready for, setting the stage for the next vital step in this quiet, unseen transformation. But before you can step into that magnificent future, my child, you must first release the heavy baggage you are holding in your tired hands. I see the paralyzing anxiety that has wrapped itself tightly around your chest. Even as I tell you that this season is a protective incubator, a wave of panic still washes over you. You are terrified because trusting me right now means letting go of the control you have fought so incredibly hard to maintain. It is terrifying to trust when nothing makes sense logically. Your mind is a constant whirlwind of worst-case scenarios, playing out every possible disaster if you choose to stay in this difficult place. You are exhausted from carrying these massive weights of fear, doubt, and panic, accumulated slowly day by day, as the waiting period stretched far longer than you ever anticipated. I do not condemn you for feeling this profound fear. I know you are flesh and blood. I know how completely vulnerable it feels to stand in the middle of a raging storm without a visible shelter to hide beneath. Logic tells you everything is falling apart. The numbers do not add up, the people remain unchanged, and the path ahead looks incredibly dark. The panic you feel is the natural human response to standing at the edge of the vast unknown. But I am asking you to look away from the crashing waves and fix your eyes entirely on me. The weights you are carrying were never assigned to you by my loving hand. They are heavy stones of self-reliance that you picked up in your desperate, exhausting attempt to figure everything out on your own. Let us look closely at the anatomy of this panic that is driving your urge to flee. This overwhelming anxiety is not just a random emotion. It is a calculated distraction. The enemy of your soul knows exactly how much potential is locked inside of you. He knows the spectacular blessing that is waiting on the other side of this waiting period. And because he cannot touch your destiny, he is trying to manipulate your emotions. He uses the fear of failure as a weapon to push you out of my perfect will. He whispers that if you do not take matters into your own hands, immediately you will lose everything. He wants you to believe that running away is your only path to safety, hoping you will abort the beautiful process I have set in motion. But those whispers are entirely built on lies. The enemy tells you that you are unprotected, but I have surrounded you with a fortress of grace. He tells you that your future is ruined, but I hold your days securely in the palm of my hand. The anxiety tells you that if you do not fix this broken situation right now, it will collapse and bury you. It demands immediate action, frantic movement, and desperate decisions. Panic always creates a false sense of urgency. It rushes you into making permanent choices based on temporary emotional exhaustion. I want to expose that lie right here and right now. You do not have to figure this out today. You do not have to have the answers for tomorrow. The urgency you feel is a fabrication designed to rob you of your current peace. Overcoming this fear does not happen by suddenly changing your external circumstances. That is the greatest misconception you have carried. You have believed that if the environment would just shift, if the money would just appear, or if the relationship would just heal, then your anxiety would finally evaporate. But true spiritual peace is never dependent on what is happening outside of you. If your peace is tied to your situation, it will always be fragile, easily shattered by the next unexpected storm. Overcoming fear happens by anchoring your soul entirely to my unchanging presence. It happens when you realize that I am your absolute safety, not the resolution of your problems. When you anchor yourself securely to me, the winds can howl and the earth can shake, but your heart remains completely steady. I am inviting you into a divine exchange today. I want you to trade your heavy, exhausting yoke of self-reliance for my gentle, perfect guidance. You have spent so much energy trying to be the author, the director, and the savior of your own story. You have analyzed every angle, played out every scenario, and tried to manipulate the pieces to force a favorable outcome. And it has left you utterly drained. Drop those heavy weights. Let them fall from your trembling hands. You were not designed to carry the burden of omniscience. You were designed to be a beloved child, held and protected by a perfectly capable father. Step out of that defensive survival mode. You have been fighting an invisible war in your mind for so long that your spirit is deeply bruised and weary. Let go of the desperate need to understand the mechanics of my timing. You do not need a detailed map when you are holding the hand of the guide. Feel the heavy armor of your self-protection falling to the ground. It is completely safe to be vulnerable with me. You do not have to pretend to be brave when you are standing in my presence. If you are terrified, tell me you are terrified. If your faith feels like a flickering candle about to go out, let me cup my hands around it to protect the flame. I am not intimidated by your doubts, and I am not driven away by your questions. Bring every single fear into the warm light of my love. As you expose them to me, watch how quickly they lose their paralyzing power over your heart. Running away will not give you the relief you are desperately craving. Escaping this season motivated by fear will only multiply your exhaustion. If you pack your bags and flee, you will carry the exact same anxiety, the exact same insecurities, and the exact same heavy burdens right into the next chapter of your life. Geography does not heal the human soul. A new job, a new relationship, or a new town cannot fix a heart that is fractured by panic. The rest you are looking for can only be found by staying planted exactly where I have placed you and allowing me to do the deep internal healing that this moment requires. True safety is not found in the sudden absence of a storm. True safety is found entirely in the center of my perfect will. So take a deep, slow breath right now. Let the frantic beating of your heart synchronize with the steady, calm rhythm of my unfailing love. You are standing on solid rock, even if it feels like you are walking on water. Every time a new wave of panic tries to rise up in your throat, I want you to consciously choose to drop it at my feet. Tell the fear that it no longer has permission to dictate your daily decisions. You are making a vital transition right now, moving out of the frantic hustle of self-preservation and stepping into the quiet, beautiful vulnerability of trusting a God who has never once failed you. You are choosing to stay firmly rooted in me, realizing that this open posture of surrender is the most powerful, secure stance you could ever take. The moment you stop fighting to control the narrative, an incredible lightness will begin to wash over you. The heavy fog of doubt will start to lift from your mind, and your spiritual vision will clear. You are actively preparing the soil of your heart for something incredibly profound. By choosing not to run, and by deliberately dropping the weights of panic, you are clearing the stage for me to move in a way you have never experienced before. You are learning the crucial life-changing difference between a forced premature escape and a beautiful divine deliverance. The first leaves you tired and entirely empty, while the second brings unparalleled joy and deep restoration. So rest here with me, my child. Let the tears of relief fall freely. You are entirely safe in my arms right now, and because you have dropped your defenses, you are finally ready to hear exactly what is at stake if you were to walk away. Listen carefully to me now, my child, because the truth I am sharing is the lifeline you need to survive this moment. I told you that by dropping your defenses, you were finally ready to hear exactly what is at stake if you were to walk away. The warning I give you is not a threat. I am not a harsh taskmaster looking to punish you for being tired. I am your deeply loving Father, and I am standing in front of you with absolute urgency because I see the entire map of your life. I see the breathtaking destination I have prepared for you, and I see the devastating cliff you are currently walking toward in your desperation to find an exit. If you leave now, you could lose everything. I know that sounds dramatic to your exhausted mind, but it is the sobering reality of the spiritual mechanics at play. The marriage you want to abandon, the career, calling you want to throw away, the quiet season of waiting. You are trying to force your way out of these are not random holding cells. They are the precise environments required to forge the character necessary for your next season. Walking away from them right now would be a profound tragedy. You are being tempted by the illusion of the shortcut. Your human logic is whispering that any movement is better than this painful stagnation. You think that if you just step out of the fire, the burning will stop, and you will finally find peace. But I must tell you a foundational truth about my kingdom: shortcuts always lead to spiritual malnutrition. When you try to bypass the difficult process I have laid out for you, you also bypass the essential nourishment that process was designed to provide. Think of a butterfly struggling to break free from its chrysalis. If you take pity on the creature and use a tiny knife to cut the cocoon open, sparing it the exhausting struggle, the butterfly will emerge, but it will be completely incapable of flight. The very struggle of pushing through the resistance is what forces the fluid from its body into its wings, giving it the strength to soar. Your current frustration is that exact resistance. The pressure you feel is not crushing you. It is forcing the strength into your spiritual wings. If you abort this process too early, you will step into your future with fragile wings, entirely unequipped for the massive heights I intend for you to fly. I need you to have a profound, sobering respect for the power of obedience and perseverance. The blessing that is waiting for you is significant. The open doors, the healed relationships, the profound purpose, they are heavier than you realize. They carry a weight of responsibility, a demand for deep maturity, and a requirement for unwavering faith. If you forcefully rip yourself out of this difficult season before the work is done, you will step into that blessing without the character required to sustain it. The very miracle you have been begging me for would eventually become a burden that crushes you. I am delaying the rescue because I am securing your foundation. I am making sure that when the winds of success, responsibility, or relational depth blow against your life, you do not collapse under the heavy pressure. Walking away now would mean stepping into the battlefield without your armor fully fastened. It would mean taking the gift, but leaving behind the wisdom needed to manage it properly. I want to reveal a spiritual secret to you, one that the enemy desperately hopes you never learn. I want you to analyze the exact timing of this overwhelming urge to quit. Why is the panic so fierce today? Why does the temptation to walk away feel stronger this week than it did a month ago? It is because the urge to quit is always entirely strongest right before the breakthrough occurs. The enemy of your soul is not omniscient, but he can read the spiritual atmosphere. He can see the cracks forming in the wall you have been staring at. He knows that the ice is beginning to thaw, and he knows that the door is resting on the very edge of swinging wide open, because he cannot stop my hand from blessing you. His only remaining strategy is to convince you to walk away from the door before I open it. He turns up the emotional heat, magnifying your exhaustion and whispering lies of permanent failure precisely because he knows your waiting period is almost over. Do you see the tragedy of what is at stake? Imagine enduring months or even years of the heavy lifting, the tears, the late-night prayers, and the agonizing silence, only to drop the rope one day before the victory is secured. Imagine the heartbreak of walking away right before the profound softening of hearts I was about to release. Imagine abandoning your calling just moments before the divine connection was going to be made. That is the danger of a premature escape. It causes you to make a permanent, regretful decision based entirely on temporary emotional exhaustion. The enemy wants you to focus on the pain of today so that you will blindly forfeit the glory of tomorrow. He wants you to trade your magnificent birthright for a cheap, immediate bowl of temporary relief. I am standing in your way today because I refuse to let you make that trade without knowing exactly what it will cost you. I want you to begin reframing your current frustration. Do not look at the heavy silence as a sign of my absence, but rather as the final necessary test of your faith. You are in the final lap of a marathon. Every muscle in your body is screaming at you to stop. This is the moment when your lungs feel like they are burning, and the finish line seems like an impossible mirage. But this is also the exact moment when true champions are made. The grit, the resilience, and the unyielding trust you are developing right now are the exact tools you will use to govern the blessings of your future. You are not just surviving a trial. You are passing an exam. I am watching you closely, not with a critical eye, waiting for you to fail, but with the immense pride of a father who knows the incredible strength hidden inside his child. I know what you are capable of, even when you have completely lost sight of it yourself. You are stronger than this fleeting desire to quit. The Holy Spirit living inside you is infinitely more powerful than the temporary panic trying to dictate your steps. I am not asking you to stay because I want to prolong your suffering. I am asking you to hold your ground because I want to maximize your reward. I am protecting your future from the fragile, impulsive decisions of your present exhaustion. Let this truth sink deeply into your weary bones. The discomfort of staying in my will is infinitely safer than the temporary relief of stepping outside of it. If you step out from under my protective covering to find your own way, you will find yourself completely exposed to the harsh elements of a world that does not love you. But if you choose to stay, if you dig your heels into the soil of obedience and refuse to be moved by the swirling winds of doubt, you will witness a beautiful deliverance that will leave you absolutely breathless. Feel the shift happening within your spirit right now. The frantic desire to pack your bags and run is slowly being replaced by a renewed, gritty determination to hold the line. You are realizing that your endurance has a distinct, beautiful purpose. You are beginning to understand the massive stakes involved in your obedience. This is not the time to retreat. This is the time to stand firm, to look the fear of failure directly in the eyes, and to declare that you will not be moved. You are planting your feet on the solid rock of my promises, choosing to endure the final moments of this dark night, because you know with absolute certainty that the morning is about to break. You have fought too hard and traveled too far to turn back now. The reward for your perseverance is closer than your anxious mind can comprehend. Hold on to me. Grip my hand tighter. I am supplying the exact measure of grace you need to survive this very hour. You do not need the strength for tomorrow yet. You only need the courage to stay planted today. Trust that the roots you are growing in this dark soil will soon support the most vibrant branches you have ever seen. As you stand here fully aware of the danger of leaving and completely committed to seeing this process through to its beautiful completion, we must address the final barrier standing between you and the peace you so desperately need. We must look at the hidden idols of impatience you have quietly built in your heart, the subtle demands you have placed on my timing, and the reasons why the delay has felt so agonizing to your soul. I know the word idol might make you instinctively pull back. When you hear that word, you imagine ancient statues of gold or stone. You do not consider yourself someone who worships idols. But an idol in your modern life is rarely something you physically bow down to. An idol is simply anything that you have decided you cannot live without. It is anything you have granted the ultimate power to dictate your inner peace, your joy, and your sense of security. Over these long months of waiting, without even realizing it, you have slowly turned your desired breakthrough into an idol. You have tied your entire emotional stability to a changed external circumstance. You have silently made an agreement with yourself that until this specific problem is fixed, until this relationship is healed, or until this door finally opens, you refuse to be happy. You have placed your hope in the answered prayer rather than in the one who answers it. Let us look gently but honestly at the root cause of the lingering bitterness that has settled into your spirit. Beneath your exhaustion, beneath your tears, and even beneath your most desperate prayers, there is a quiet, unspoken belief that you know better than I do. You have meticulously mapped out how your life should look by this exact age. You calculated the exact timeline and determined how your rescue should arrive. You created a flawless script in your mind, and when I did not follow your directions or meet your self-appointed deadlines, you felt betrayed. The anger you are wrestling with today is not actually about the severity of your situation. It is about your loss of control. You are frustrated because you cannot force my hand to move at the speed of your personal preference. You have been operating under the painful, exhausting misconception that a delayed answer is the exact same thing as a denied prayer. You watch the weeks bleed into months, wrongly concluding, I have rejected your request. But my child, a delay is never a denial. A delay is a profound instrument of divine preparation. You are looking at the clock on your wall, but I am operating on the timeline of eternity. The human demand for immediate gratification is a heavy burden that I never asked you to carry. You live in a fast-paced world that promises instant results, overnight success, and immediate relief from every discomfort. But the deep, permanent spiritual growth required to sustain your destiny cannot be microwaved. It requires the slow, steady, deliberate watering of faith in the dark. The agony you are feeling right now is largely self-inflicted. I say that with the utmost tenderness and compassion. The pain is real, but the sharpest edges of your suffering are coming from your relentless resistance to my timeline. You are exhausting yourself by fighting against a current you were never meant to control. Imagine a person caught in a rushing river, spending all their energy furiously swimming upstream against the powerful water, only to grow tired, bitter, and completely burned out. That is what you have been doing. You have been fighting my sovereign schedule, demanding that the river flow in the direction you choose. The exhaustion you feel in your bones is the direct result of trying to manage the universe, a job that is far too heavy for your fragile human shoulders. I want you to understand the true biblical principle of waiting faithfully. Waiting is not a passive, miserable state of tapping your foot while staring angrily at a locked door. Waiting is not simply holding your breath until your circumstances change. True faithful waiting is an active posture of the heart. It is the beautiful, deliberate choice to find deep joy, unwavering peace, and absolute contentment in my presence, even when your hands are completely empty of the blessing you asked for. It is the spiritual maturity to stand in the middle of a barren season and declare that I am still good, not merely for what I do, but simply for who I am. When you finally learn to separate your inner joy from your external circumstances, you completely disarm the enemy's ability to torment your mind. Allow this gentle conviction to pierce through the defensive walls you have carefully built around your heart. I am not pointing out these hidden idols to shame you or to make you feel guilty for your struggles. I am shining a light on them, like a skilled surgeon, illuminating a hidden infection. I want to carefully remove the very things that are making you sick with anxiety. Every demand you have placed on my timing is a heavy chain wrapped around your own neck. Every rigid expectation you hold regarding how your miracle must unfold is a self-made prison cell. I want you to be completely free, but you cannot experience true freedom as long as you are clinging desperately to your illusion of control. Feel the liberating humility that begins to wash over you as you slowly let go of your rigid expectations. You do not have to have all the answers. You do not need to figure out the ending of this chapter today. You can simply step down from the heavy, exhausting pedestal of trying to be the director of your own life. There is profound relief waiting for you in the beautiful realization that you are not in charge. Let the weight of that truth settle deeply into your weary soul. You are a beloved child, and a child's only responsibility is to trust their father to provide, to protect, and to lead them perfectly in his own time. Look back at the past few months of your struggle. See how much energy you have wasted being angry at closed doors, completely unaware that I locked those very doors to protect you from entering rooms that would have broken your spirit. See how your insistence on immediate gratification has blinded you to the subtle daily graces I have been pouring out over your life. When you elevate your desired outcome above your relationship with me, the blessing itself becomes a curse. I will not release the miracle you are demanding as long as I know it will take my place on the throne of your heart. I love you far too much to let a temporary gift destroy your eternal peace. This period of waiting is the exact furnace required to melt away that stubborn pride. As the heat of this trial continues, it is burning off the impurities of your self-reliance, leaving behind a pure, unshakable trust. I want to completely transform the way you pray in this season. Up until this moment, your prayers have been frantic demands for an emergency exit. You have been coming to me with a desperate, angry plea to simply get you out of this uncomfortable situation. You have asked me to change people, fix finances, and instantly remove every obstacle. But as the hidden idols of your impatience are gently crushed, the tone of your conversation with me is going to shift. The frantic desperation is fading, replaced by a quiet, steady resolve. You are moving away from angrily demanding a way out, and you are beginning to softly, humbly ask for the strength to endure exactly where I have placed you. This is the exact moment where true spiritual maturity is born. You are finally recognizing that the deepest miracle is not the changing of your environment, but the profound transformation of your own heart. By acknowledging your impatience and laying down your rigid timeline, you are actively preparing the soil of your soul for something magnificent. You are trading your bitter frustration for a sweet, yielding compliance to my perfect will. Take a deep breath and let the last remnants of your rebellion fall to the floor. You are no longer fighting me. You are no longer trying to kick open locked doors. You are simply resting in the profound truth that my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts are higher than your thoughts. As this wave of liberating humility washes your spirit clean, you are finally beautifully positioned to release your desperate grip on the outcome, guiding us into the most important and life-altering step of your entire journey. That life-altering step, my child, is the quiet, beautiful gift of complete and unconditional surrender. You have carried the heavy burden of your own timeline for so long that your hands are blistered and bruised from holding on so tightly. But now, as that wave of liberating humility settles over you, I am asking you to do the bravest thing you have ever done. I am asking you to slowly open your hands. Surrender is a word that often terrifies the human heart, because you equate it with losing, with giving up the fight, or with accepting permanent defeat. But in my kingdom, surrender is the exact opposite of defeat. It is the ultimate victory that leads to renewed hope. It is the profound intentional choice to stop striving, to stop fighting the current, and to place your life entirely into the care of the only one who actually has the power to heal it. I want you to feel the deep, immense safety of this moment. You are not handing your dreams over to a cold, distant judge. You are trusting them to a loving Father who already knows exactly how this story ends. Look down at what you have been clutching so desperately to your chest. I see the broken pieces of the marriage you have tried to glue back together with your own strength. I see the stalled career, the deferred dreams, and the quiet, silent prayers that have felt like heavy stones in your pockets. You have gripped these things with a terrified intensity, believing that if you let them go for even a single second, they will shatter entirely. But your tight grip is actually what is slowly crushing the life out of them. I am guiding you right now, step by step, to relinquish that desperate hold. Take the deeply fractured relationship, the one that keeps you awake at 2 a.m, and lift it up to me. Tell me that you cannot fix it. Take the professional calling that feels completely dead, the financial anxiety that stalks you, and the desperate desire for a breakthrough, and release them from your custody. Give me your right to dictate how and when I answer. I need to teach you a foundational law of this journey we are on together, a truth that will govern the rest of your life if you allow it to take root. Listen closely to my voice. My peace must always come before my miracle. The profound blessing you have been begging for simply cannot be released until your hands are completely open and entirely empty of your own plans. If I were to hand you the miracle while your fists were still tightly clenched around your own timeline, you would not be able to receive it. The blessing would merely bounce off your closed hands. True surrender creates the essential spiritual vacancy required for me to move, allowing for changed hearts and inner peace. Your heart must be utterly detached from the outcome before the outcome can be safely delivered. This means that you must reach a place where you are genuinely willing to declare that even if the marriage does not mend exactly the way you want, even if the door never opens, and even if the situation remains entirely unchanged, you will still trust me. You will still find your absolute joy in my presence. I know how exhausting it has been for you to try and play God in your own life. You have spent years attempting to orchestrate every detail, manage every person's reaction, and manipulate the environment to keep yourself safe. You have carried the agonizing responsibility of trying to force the universe to bend to your will, but you were never designed to carry the weight of sovereignty. It is a crushing, suffocating job, and it has nearly destroyed your peace. I am giving you permission to resign from that position today. Feel the magnificent, profound relief that washes over the human soul when it finally steps down from the throne of control. You do not have to protect yourself anymore. You do not have to strive, scheme, or panic. You are completely powerless over the hearts of other people, and you are entirely powerless over the ticking of the clock. But instead of letting that powerlessness terrify you, I want you to let it comfort you. Lean your entire, exhausted weight onto my absolute sovereignty, replacing fear with unwavering faith. I want you to experience a deep, cleansing emotional exhale right now. Take a long, slow breath in, and as you release it, feel the rigid muscles in your neck and shoulders begin to soften. Let the tears fall if they need to. These are not tears of sorrow or bitter defeat. These are the holy tears of profound relief. They are the physical manifestation of your soul, finally laying down its armor. For so long you have lived in a state of high alert, bracing for the next disappointment, anticipating the next failure, and fighting an invisible war that has left you entirely depleted. But in this sacred space of complete submission, the war is officially over. You are raising a white flag, not to the enemy, but to me. You are saying that you cannot do this anymore. You yield. You give me the pen to write the story however I see fit. That simple, honest confession is the most beautiful sound to my ears. It is the key that unlocks the heavy chains of bitterness and impatience you have been wearing. As you let go, you might feel a sudden sense of emptiness, a quiet void, where all your frantic anxiety used to live. Do not be afraid of that open space. Your heart has been completely emptied of its resistance, stripped of its demanding nature, and cleared of the chaotic noise of your own expectations. You are no longer desperately clawing at the walls of your circumstances looking for an escape route. You are no longer angry with me for making you wait. The bitterness has dissolved, replaced by a soft, gentle, and deeply vulnerable trust. This is the exact condition your heart needed to reach to find true healing. You have been thoroughly softened like clay that has been carefully watered and kneaded in the hands of the potter, completely ready to be reshaped. You have stopped demanding answers, and you have started resting in grace. Rest in this beautiful surrendered silence, my precious child. You have crossed the most difficult threshold of this entire wilderness. The frantic energy that defined your days has evaporated, leaving behind a tranquil, unshakable stillness. By giving up your desperate need for a specific outcome, you have inadvertently positioned yourself to receive the greatest comfort you have ever known. Your spiritual eyes, which were previously blinded by the thick fog of panic and the blinding tears of frustration, are now being gently wiped clean. Because you are no longer making so much noise, trying to fight your way out of this season, the atmosphere around you has grown incredibly quiet. And it is within this newfound peaceful quietness that your senses are going to awaken to a beautiful reality you have been missing all along, gently preparing you to finally notice the intricate loving ways I have been moving right beside you. You are breathing differently now. In this newfound peaceful quietness, the heavy, tearful work of surrender is officially behind you. Notice how the temperature of your anxiety has dropped. The frantic drumming in your chest has slowed to a steady, restful rhythm. For months you desperately cried out to me from the middle of a raging storm, working so hard to survive that you could not perceive anything else. But now that you have laid down your armor, the storm inside your mind has completely broken. The dark clouds of panic are parting, allowing the warm light of my abiding presence to finally touch your weary face. You have transitioned from defensive survival into gentle awareness, ready to see what has been right in front of you the entire time. I want to teach you how to recognize my gentle whispers. Because your inability to hear me was never a result of my silence. It was a result of your expectations. You waited for me to speak in the earthquake, looking for a ground-shaking event to prove I was working. You watched for the blazing fire of immediate deliverance, believing my presence would be loud and impossible to miss. But my precious child, I rarely speak in the earthquake or the fire. Those elements are spectacular, but they do not cultivate intimacy. I speak in the still, small voice. I speak in the quiet rustle of the leaves, the gentle nudges in your spirit, and the profound sense of peace that makes no logical sense. You missed my voice because you were listening for a roar, unaware that I was softly whispering your name. When someone shouts, they can be standing far across a crowded room. A shout bridges a massive gap, but a whisper is entirely different. To whisper to you, someone must come incredibly close. They must step into your personal space and speak directly into your ear. A whisper requires shared closeness. I have chosen to speak in gentle whispers because I do not want to be a distant commander shouting from the heavens. I want to be the loving Father who sits so closely beside you that you can feel the warmth of my presence. I deliberately lowered my voice during this dark season so you would be forced to stop running and lean your head against my chest to hear me. The quietness was never an abandonment. It was an invitation to draw nearer than you ever have before. Now that your spirit is calm, I want to guide you to look back at the recent weeks you so quickly labeled as empty. Let us uncover the hidden treasures of grace you overlooked because you were blinded by panic. You thought you were walking alone, completely abandoned to the harsh elements of your struggle. Remember that specific afternoon when the weight of your situation felt absolutely crushing, when you thought you could not take one more step. Do you remember the sudden, unexplainable second wind that carried you through the rest of the day? That was not your own adrenaline, my child. That was my supernatural strength, wrapping around your fragile frame, holding you upright when your own energy was depleted. I was there, carrying you through the exact moments you thought would break you. Look closely at the unexpected moments of kindness sprinkled throughout your daily routine. Think about the perfectly timed message from a friend who reached out right when you were drowning in loneliness. Remember the stranger's warm smile, the sudden provision that covered a need you were terrified of, or the brief moments of laughter shared despite the heavy clouds hanging over your home. You brushed those moments off as mere coincidences. You were so hyper-focused on the locked door of your major miracle that you completely ignored the beautiful flowers I was planting along your path. Every single one of those seemingly insignificant details was a deliberate, perfectly timed encouragement from my hand. They were my gentle whispers, constantly reminding you that I care for your daily needs. I also want to open your eyes to the invisible protections actively surrounding you. You shed bitter tears over opportunities that fell through relationships that unexpectedly ended and paths that were suddenly blocked. You viewed those losses as profound rejections, but from my vantage point, those were acts of fierce, paternal rescue. The door you desperately wanted open led to a trap of extreme anxiety that would have destroyed your peace. The connection you cried over losing was secretly harboring pain that would have eventually shattered your heart. I closed those doors, redirected those paths, and removed those obstacles because I saw the cliff edge you were blindly walking toward. What you experienced as painful stagnation was actually my protective shield guarding your soul. Let the magnitude of this constant, unseen involvement wash over your mind. I want to shift your entire theology right now. For too long, you have operated under a theology of distant abandonment. You viewed me as a cosmic manager who sets the universe in motion and then steps back to watch you struggle from a faraway throne. You believed that unless I was performing a spectacular miracle, I was essentially absent from your life. But today, you are stepping into a lived, breathing experience of my close, personal affection. I am not managing you from a distance. I am meticulously weaving the threads of your daily existence with profound care. You are stepping into the warm, vibrant light of an intimate, relentless love. As this gentle, warming realization takes root in your heart, I want you to feel how deeply you are cherished. You are not a number in a massive crowd. You are not a burden, an afterthought, or a project that I am tired of working on. You are beloved and fiercely protected. I have counted every single tear that has fallen onto your pillow. I have cataloged every sigh of frustration and moment of doubt, responding to them not with frustration, but with overwhelming compassion. The simple fact that you have survived this long, dark wilderness is absolute proof that my hand has never once left your shoulder. You made it here because my grace was the invisible safety net, catching you every single time you stumbled. This quiet observation is a vital requirement for the next phase of your journey. By learning to recognize my gentle whispers in the middle of your waiting, Your faith is being permanently re-anchored. You are no longer desperate for the massive external miracle just to prove to yourself that I care. You have found me in the quietness. You have discovered the profound, unshakable joy of my abiding presence, realizing that the greatest gift I could ever give you is myself. Your heart is gently flooded with a deep comfort and intimacy that completely eradicates the lingering sting of past disappointments. You are smiling again, not because the mountain in front of you has moved, but because you finally realize you are holding the hand of the God who created the mountain. Stay in this beautiful, cherished space with me, my child. Let the profound truth of my constant loving involvement soak into the deepest layers of your soul. You have successfully transitioned from the exhausting panic of survival into the quiet, powerful peace of a beloved child. Because you have learned to hear my whisper in the dark, and because you now clearly see the intricate, loving ways I have been moving right beside you, you are finally prepared for the incredible things I am about to do. You are no longer approaching the future with terrified skepticism, but with a warm, steady confidence. You are perfectly positioned, fully supported by the undeniable evidence of my gentle care to rebuild the foundation of your trust and to start believing me for the larger, breathtaking miracles that are already on their way. To truly believe for those larger, breathtaking miracles that are already on their way, we must carefully and deliberately rebuild the foundation of your active trust. You have spent so much time staring at the terrifying waves crashing against your boat that you have temporarily forgotten the unshakable history we share. I see exactly how the paralyzing doubt has chipped away at your confidence, slowly eroding the vibrant faith you used to carry. When the waiting stretched on far longer than your human mind could comprehend, the enemy successfully convinced you that your future was entirely uncertain. You began to believe that trusting me was equivalent to closing your eyes, crossing your fingers, and making a blind leap into the dark, while simply hoping I would eventually catch you. But my beloved child, true faith is never an act of desperate wishful thinking. True faith is a highly logical resting on my proven character. It is looking at the undeniable evidence of what I have already done in your life, and allowing that history to firmly dictate your expectations for tomorrow. I want you to take a journey with me right now, not into the anxious unknown of your future, but back into the deeply established chapters of your past. Think about the last time you stood exactly where you are today, when you were absolutely convinced that you had finally reached the end of the road. You remember that specific valley. You remember the sleepless nights, the overwhelming fear that you were going to lose everything, and the heavy tears you cried, begging for a way out of what felt like a permanent tragedy. You remember the specific moment you were on your knees, breathless from the weight of your grief, convinced your heart could not take another ounce of pressure. In that moment, your logic told you that survival was impossible. The odds were massively stacked against you. The resources had dried up, and the people around you had absolutely no answers to offer. I want you to sit quietly in the memory of that past desperation for just a moment, because I want you to contrast it with the magnificent reality of your deliverance. You are standing here today. You survived. You did not drown in those deep waters, and you were not consumed by that terrifying fire. I navigated you safely through the darkest corridors of that specific trial, restoring your footing when you thought you were going to fall. I sent the exact provision you needed at the very last second. I brought profound healing to the situation everyone else said was entirely dead. When your human strength failed, my supernatural grace stepped in and carried the burden. You did not rescue yourself. I reached down and pulled you out of the mud, setting your feet back on solid ground. The God who miraculously parted those specific waters for you is the exact same God standing right beside you in this current wilderness. My power did not diminish over the passing years. My fierce love for you has not faded, and my ability to completely transform a hopeless situation remains absolute and unchanged. I have a flawless track record of faithfulness in your life. I have never once abandoned you to face a storm alone, even when you could not immediately see my hand at work behind the scenes. When you forget your own spiritual history, you become incredibly vulnerable to the lies of panic. The enemy relies heavily on your spiritual amnesia. He desperately needs you to forget the massive mountains I have already moved, so he can successfully convince you that this current obstacle will finally defeat you. But today, we are permanently breaking that cycle of forgetfulness. We are deliberately anchoring your mind to the solid rock of my historical reliability. As you reflect deeply on my past, faithfulness, feel a resilient, immovable confidence beginning to take root deep within your spirit. This is not a fragile, temporary burst of emotion that will vanish the moment you face a new challenge. This is the profound structural rebuilding of your trust from the ground up. Every time you recall a specific moment when I provided for you during a season of financial hardship, when I healed a broken relationship, or miraculously opened a sealed door, you are adding another heavy, impenetrable stone to your spiritual fortress. You are actively fortifying your mind against any returning whispers of fear. It is an architectural marvel built in your spirit, transforming you from someone who merely survives the storm into someone who stands entirely unbothered by the wind. The next time anxiety tries to tap on your shoulder and whisper the lie that you are running out of time, you will not cower in a defensive posture of survival. You will not entertain the deceptive notion that your best days are behind you. Instead, you will stand tall in a quiet, grounded strength, armed with the undeniable testimony of my enduring goodness. I want you to understand the profound difference between a human possibility and a divine promise. The world operates entirely on fragile possibilities. People will offer you their best efforts and well-intentioned hopes, but their abilities are ultimately limited by their human constraints. When I speak a word over your life, it is not a mere possibility or a best-case scenario. My promises are absolute, unwavering guarantees. When I promise to never leave you nor forsake you, that is an eternal covenant, sealed by my very nature. When I promise that all things will ultimately work together for your good, I am actively orchestrating the complex, unseen details of your life to ensure that perfect outcome is achieved. Your current waiting period does not cancel my promises. It is simply the quiet staging ground where those promises are being prepared for their precise delivery. I want this beautiful biblical theme of hope to completely saturate your weary heart today. Hope in my kingdom is not a fragile wish. It is a confident expectation of ultimate good. It is the heavy anchor for your soul that keeps you from drifting away when the external winds blow fiercely against your life. I see the profound shift happening within you right now. The emotional intensity of this journey is changing. The exhausting desperation that drove you to the edge of quitting just a short time ago is entirely gone. You're no longer merely trying to survive the day. You are standing in a posture of victorious expectation. You are finally learning that to completely trust me is the most secure, intelligent, and logical decision your heart could ever make. Because you know exactly who I am, and because you remember exactly what I have done, you can look directly at the unchanged, difficult circumstances of your present moment and feel absolutely no paralyzing fear. You have successfully re-anchored your soul, replacing your previous doubt with a powerful conviction that my timing is always flawless. Feel the heavy protective spiritual armor settling permanently onto your shoulders. You're becoming deeply resilient, transforming right before my eyes. You're no longer the fragile, terrified child who is entirely ready to drop everything and run away. You've been beautifully fortified by the gentle realization of my constant presence and deeply strengthened by the irrefutable evidence of my past faithfulness. The enemy's lies are rapidly losing their grip on your imagination because your mind is now entirely occupied by the brilliant truth of my consistent, unfailing love. You have successfully transitioned from a shaky theology of doubt into a lived, unshakable confidence. Your faith is no longer dependent on seeing immediate visible results. It is firmly resting on the unchanging character of your Heavenly Father. This immovable trust is the essential foundation you must stand on for what comes next. I am preparing you to step into a completely new level of spiritual maturity, one that requires a faith that has been thoroughly tested, proven, and beautifully purified. I have stopped your frantic panic, gently exposed your hidden idols, guided you into the profound peace of complete surrender, and rebuilt your confidence in my unwavering promises. You are perfectly protected and entirely secure in my hands. To properly prepare you to carry the massive weight of the incredible blessing that is coming, there is one final profound work that must be accomplished deep within your heart. Now that your trust is firmly anchored, you are entirely ready to understand the deeper purpose behind the agonizing pain you have endured, leading you to see how this exact season of delay was never a punishment, but an essential loving invitation to step into the purifying fire. I know the word fire can sound incredibly frightening to a mind that is exhausted. When you hear the phrase, purifying fire, your natural human instinct is to immediately brace yourself for more destruction, more loss, and more overwhelming pain. You have already walked through so many valleys that the mere thought of enduring additional heat makes you want to pull away, retreat into the shadows, and hide your weary heart. But the fire I'm inviting you to step into is not the kind that consumes. It is the exact, deliberate kind that refines. I want to profoundly reframe the way you view this ongoing trial. For so long you have looked at this intense period of delay as a heavy divine punishment. You have scrutinized your past choices, turning over every memory, wondering if this frustrating stagnation was simply the penalty for a past mistake. But my beloved child, I do not use circumstances to brutally punish those I deeply love. This specific frustration you are currently facing is not a sentence handed down by an angry judge. It is the precise, masterfully wielded tool of a perfectly loving Creator. Think of the meticulous care of a master silversmith. When a silversmith wants to produce a piece of unmatched beauty and immense value, he does not gently wash the silver in cool water and leave it on a shelf. He deliberately places it into the center of a blazing furnace. He intentionally turns up the heat, watching closely as the silver melts and the hidden impurities, the dross that weakens the metal, slowly rise to the bubbling surface. He carefully skims away the debris, refusing to remove the silver from the heat until it becomes so pure that he can clearly see his own reflection shining back from the surface. This is the exact beautiful and structural work I am doing deep within your soul right now. The intense heat of this waiting period is causing the hidden impurities of your heart to finally rise to the surface so that I can gently, permanently remove them. Let us look honestly at what is actually being burned away in this sacred fire. Before you entered this long wilderness, you carried a quiet, unrecognized fragility. You possessed a subtle pride that believed you could successfully manipulate your circumstances if you just worked hard enough or planned carefully enough. Your self-reliance was a heavy armor you wore every single day, convincing yourself that your strength alone was sufficient to secure your future. But true, lasting spiritual maturity simply cannot coexist with pride and self-reliance. If you had carried those fragile impurities into the profound blessing that is waiting for you, the sheer weight of that new chapter would have caused your spiritual foundation to completely crack under the pressure. The very miracle you have been desperately begging me for requires a level of deep resilience that you simply did not possess when you first began praying. I want you to realize a sobering but incredibly beautiful truth today. The person you were when you first asked for the miracle was not yet fully capable of handling the responsibility that comes with it. The character required to sustain the massive blessing I am preparing for you can only be forged in the intense crucible of delay. If I had simply opened the door the very first time you knocked, you would have walked into the room entirely unprepared for the complex spiritual warfare, the heavy leadership responsibilities, and the nuanced relationships that reside there. Your emotional endurance was too shallow to survive the new environment. Your trust was too heavily dependent on visible comfort and immediate success. I allowed the door to remain firmly locked, and I allowed the heat of this trial to surround you specifically to expand your capacity. I am actively stretching your spiritual muscles, burning away the weak, fearful tendencies that used to easily entangle you, and replacing them with an unyielding, gritty perseverance. Perseverance is not simply the ability to survive a difficult day with a gritted jaw. It is the profound spiritual endurance that allows you to remain steadfast, joyful, and completely anchored in my love, even when the storm continues to rage around you. It is the quiet, immovable strength that looks directly at an impossible situation and refuses to abandon hope. This magnificent character trait cannot be handed to you in a fleeting moment of instant gratification. It must be slowly, deliberately cultivated through the exact kind of pain, silence, and waiting you have just so bravely endured. By keeping you in this holding pattern, I have been actively forging a stronger, wiser, and remarkably mature version of yourself. You are no longer easily shaken by the wind. You are no longer devastated by the sudden changes in your environment because your roots have grown incredibly deep into the solid soil of my unchanging truth. As you begin to truly see the incredible eternal value of this refining process, I want you to step completely out of the victim mentality that has held your mind captive for so long. A victim looks at their suffering and sees only pointless, random cruelty. A victim feels completely powerless, believing they are simply the tragic casualty of an unfair, chaotic world. But you, my precious child, are not a casualty. You are a fiercely loved, highly favored son or daughter, being carefully, intentionally mentored for a spectacular destiny. I want to instill a deep sense of purpose and profound spiritual dignity within your suffering. Your pain has never once been wasted. Not a single tear you have shed in the dark has fallen without a divine, calculated purpose. Every moment of frustration, every agonizing delay, and every closed door has been a deliberate strategic move on the chessboard of your life to perfectly position you for ultimate victory. Feel the massive liberating shift taking place in your perspective right now. The heavy bitterness that once colored your view of this long season is entirely evaporating into the warm air. In its place, something completely unexpected and beautiful is beginning to bloom inside your chest, a profound, overwhelming sense of gratitude. Yes, genuine gratitude for the wait. You are actually beginning to look back at the locked doors, the denied requests, and the silent skies, and you are whispering a sincere thank you. You are realizing that if I had given you what you wanted exactly when you demanded it, you would have completely missed out on the magnificent transformation of your own soul. You are deeply grateful for the fire because you can finally see how completely it has purified your motives, deepened your empathy for others, and solidified your unwavering trust in my character. You are stepping fully into the empowered stance of a believer who finally understands their true worth. You realize that I care far too much about your ultimate future to ever let you settle for a premature, fragile, half-baked version of your destiny. I am taking my absolute time with you because the masterpiece I am creating requires flawless precision. The heat has undeniably been uncomfortable, but look closely at the incredible results taking shape within you. Look at the immense quiet peace you are capable of holding now. Look at the profound compassion you have developed for others who are also walking through their own hidden fires. You have become a vessel of pure gold, completely emptied of your frantic human demands, and beautifully filled to the brim with my divine grace. You are finally ready to carry the glory of the answered prayer without it ever becoming an idol that steals your heart. Let the profound dignity of this realization wash over every exhausted corner of your mind, soothing the lingering aches of your long journey. You have successfully endured the blazing furnace. You have allowed the flames to consume your deepest fears, your lingering pride, and your desperate need for absolute control, leaving behind only the pure strength of genuine faith. You did not break when the pressure was highest. You bent under the extreme weight. You cried out in the agonizing heat. But you did not shatter. and because you have survived the absolute hardest, most grueling part of this quiet preparation. The atmosphere within your soul is beginning to completely beautifully settle. The exhausting internal war is officially over. The frantic striving has entirely ceased. You have fully embraced the refining fire, and in doing so, you have unlocked the final beautiful prerequisite for your ultimate deliverance. You are no longer desperately waiting for the external circumstances of your life to change so that you can finally feel secure. You feel incredibly safe right now, standing directly in the center of the unbroken storm, because the magnificent transformation inside of you is completely finished. You have become the exact, resilient person, capable of stepping into the massive future I have prepared. And as you rest quietly in this newly empowered, deeply grateful stance, you are about to experience the most surreal, breathtaking phenomenon of this entire long journey. You are about to feel the arrival of a profound, supernatural calm that defies all human logic, a beautiful, undeniable stillness that proves the greatest miracle has already taken place entirely within your own heart. That beautiful, undeniable stillness is washing over you right this very second, settling deeply into your bones like a warm blanket on a bitter winter night. I want you to close your eyes and truly feel the physical sensation of this arriving peace. Notice how the rhythm of your breathing has naturally slowed, transforming from the shallow, frantic gasps of survival into deep, steady, and restful breaths. The invisible weight that has been pressing down on your chest for months, suffocating your joy, and making every morning feel like a mountainous climb, has suddenly evaporated into the quiet air. This is not a temporary distraction or a fleeting moment of relief that will vanish the second you check your bank account or step back into your daily routine. This is the profound, supernatural calm that completely defies all human logic, arriving exactly as I promised. You are experiencing the ultimate manifestation of my comfort, a deep internal shift that proves I am actively working within you to cultivate a heart filled with genuine hope and unshakable peace. Look around at the current landscape of your life. Logically, absolutely nothing has changed. The heavy storm clouds are still swirling directly above your head. The fierce winds of uncertainty are still howling against the walls of your home, and the massive mountain standing in your way has not moved a single inch. The medical report might still be concerning the financial deficit, might still be glaring, and the silence from that broken relationship might still be echoing loudly in your hallway. Yet as you look directly at these terrifying realities, you suddenly realize that your hands are no longer trembling. Your mind is no longer a chaotic battlefield of worst-case scenarios spinning out of control. You are standing perfectly still in the very center of a raging hurricane, entirely untouched by the panic that used to completely paralyze your spirit. This is what it means to experience a peace that surpasses all human understanding, focusing purely on a changed heart, rather than demanding an instant external resolution. I want you to fully grasp the magnificent irony of this exact moment. You are experiencing the surreal reality of sleeping soundly in the middle of a violent storm, knowing with absolute certainty that I am in complete control of the boat, steering you safely toward your designated harbor. For so long you were frantically running across the deck, desperately bailing water with your own two hands, exhausted and terrified that you were about to drown. You spent all your precious energy trying to command the wind to stop. But now, you have simply dropped the bucket. You have walked down into the quiet hull of the ship, laid your weary head against my chest, and closed your eyes. You have discovered the profound truth that you do not need the storm to cease in order to find true rest. You only need to know the captain of the sea. By surrendering your desperate need to manage the crisis, you have found an emotional rhythm that moves past fear and steps directly into victorious peace. This brings us to the ultimate fulfillment of the foundational law I established with you earlier. My peace must always come before my miracle. You used to believe that your emotional stability was entirely dependent on a favorable situational outcome. You were completely convinced that you could only exhale once the visible rescue arrived, tying your inner joy directly to the changing of your environment. You built a prison for your own heart. But today, I have completely severed that heavy toxic tie. I have permanently disconnected your spiritual well-being from the unpredictable chaos of the world around you. You are no longer waiting for your daily circumstances to dictate your mood. True healing always happens inside the heart long before the environment shifts or the visible breakthrough finally appears on the distant horizon. I want you to fully recognize the incredible magnitude of what has just occurred within your weary soul. You have already received the absolute greatest miracle I could ever possibly give you. The most profound evidence of my power is not found in parting a physical sea. It is found in a fragile human heart that remains entirely steady, regardless of the world's swirling chaos. You have become incredibly resilient. You are no longer defined by your deep fear of failure or your paralyzing anxiety. Your character has been carefully forged through reflection, patience, and the gentle grace of my abiding presence, leading you smoothly away from doubt and into a beautiful, quiet strength. The enemy is looking at you right now in complete and utter confusion. He is applying the exact same pressure that used to easily break you, whispering the exact same lies, but they are having absolutely no effect. You are entirely bulletproof. Think about the exhausted, frantic person you were just a short while ago. Remember how deeply you wanted to escape. You were constantly checking the door, calculating your exit strategy, and begging me to just let you run away from the overwhelming pain. The urge to quit was a loud siren in your mind, screaming at you to abandon your calling or walk away from your marriage because the discomfort was simply too intense. But look closely at your spirit now. The unbearable pressure to escape has completely evaporated into the warm air. The frantic energy that kept your muscles tight has dissolved into a soothing, tranquil rest. You are no longer looking for the emergency exit. You are perfectly content to sit and wait exactly where you are, knowing with unshakable confidence that my timing is absolutely flawless. This beautiful contentment marks the glorious completion of your internal transformation, moving you from the deep shadows of fear into the brilliant light of mature faith. This is the ultimate breathtaking freedom. My precious child, you are no longer held hostage by the unpredictable actions or decisions of other people. You are no longer chained to the slow, agonizing ticking of the clock on your wall. If the heavy door opens tomorrow, you will rejoice with a deeply grateful heart. But if the door remains firmly locked for another month or even another entire year, you will still rejoice just the same. Your joy is permanently anchored to my unchanging nature, not to your temporary environment. You have learned the profound spiritual secret of being fully satisfied in the quietness of the dark. Your emotions are no longer riding an exhausting roller coaster dictated by the changing tides of your daily life. You have stepped off the ride entirely, choosing instead to stand firmly on the solid, unmoving rock of my eternal promises, completely sustained by my compassionate grace. I want you to simply sit in this victorious reality and let it completely saturate every single fiber of your being. Give yourself complete permission to enjoy this surreal, heavenly tranquility. You have fought such a long, agonizing battle in the unseen spiritual realm, and you have emerged from the dense wilderness completely victorious. The heavy lifting of your soul is officially finished. You do not need to endlessly analyze your situation anymore. You do not need to obsessively overthink your past mistakes or constantly worry about what tomorrow morning might bring. You can finally rest. You can wake up tomorrow without that familiar heavy dread immediately sitting on your chest. You can lay your tired head on your pillow tonight and actually sleep enveloped in a gentle, warm peace that guards your heart and your mind. I am holding you incredibly close, and you are entirely safe within the strong shelter of my arms, where no weapon formed against you will ever prosper. The emotional tone of your life has been permanently rewritten. The narrative of your daily existence is no longer a tragic story of abandonment and fearful stagnation. It is a beautiful, triumphant testament to the undeniable power of a heart that actively chooses to trust in the dark. You are radiating a quiet, confident joy that the world simply cannot understand. People will look at your difficult, unchanged circumstances and wonder how you are still standing. They will see the heavy storm still raging furiously around you and be absolutely amazed by the serene calm reflecting deeply in your eyes. Your life has become a living, breathing testimony of my supernatural grace, beautifully demonstrating that the deepest joy is always found when a soul completely surrenders its desperate need for control and chooses to rest entirely in my sovereign care. This is the profound emotional rhythm of genuine faith, completely overriding the loud noises of your external world. As you soak in this magnificent, hard-earned peace, feeling entirely cherished and completely supported, a massive chapter in your spiritual journey officially comes to a close. The intense, necessary preparation is over. The refining fire has successfully done its beautiful structural work, and your heart is now perfectly aligned with my divine will. You are resting in a state of absolute peaceful readiness, feeling no anxiety, no frantic rush, and no desperate need to force the hands of time. And because you have finally reached this profound place of internal stillness, because you are finally perfectly content to sit quietly with me in the waiting room, the spiritual atmosphere around you has reached its absolute tipping point. The heavy silence that has defined your long season is finally breaking, and the unseen forces of heaven are perfectly positioned to bring your external reality into magnificent alignment with the beautiful peace you now feel deeply inside your soul. You have successfully passed the final test of the wilderness, and your majestic breakthrough is finally at hand. You can feel it now, can't you? That subtle, undeniable change in the air, right before the heavy rain finally falls after a long, devastating drought. The stagnant spiritual atmosphere that has surrounded you for so long is breaking apart, actively shifting to point your weary heart toward genuine hope in me. I want you to open your eyes and look closely at the horizon of your life, allowing your soul to fully experience the beauty of this exact moment. The dark clouds that seemed permanently fixed above you are actively beginning to separate, making way for the brilliant golden light of my promise. The long, agonizing season of waiting is officially concluding. You are standing at the absolute edge of your wilderness, and the barren ground beneath your feet is finally giving way to the lush, fertile soil of your promised land. This magnificent shift did not happen by accident. It is the direct, beautiful result of your faithful obedience, perfectly demonstrating that the deepest joy is found when a soul completely surrenders its desperate need for control. When the enemy screamed at you to run away, you dug your heels into the ground and refused to quit. When your human logic demanded that you force a solution, you chose the brave, difficult path of genuine surrender, quietly learning to trust me again. By releasing your desperate grip on your own timeline, you have stepped into perfect, flawless alignment with my divine timing. You did not merely survive the fire, you allowed it to profoundly reshape your heart. And because your internal world is now anchored in quiet, unshakable trust, I am finally releasing the external motion you have been crying out for. Listen to the beautiful sounds of the ice finally thawing. For months, it felt as though every single area of your life was frozen solid, completely trapped in a heavy season of financial hardship, profound loneliness, or deep family conflict. The conversations were cold. The finances were entirely stalled, and the opportunities were trapped beneath a thick layer of unbreakable frost. But my warmth is sweeping across the landscape of your circumstances right now, creating an undeniable emotional connection that brings lasting peace. The frozen rivers are beginning to flow once again. I am dispatching the unseen forces of heaven, rearranging the pieces of your daily life with masterful precision. The heavy locked doors that you battered your hands against are quietly hearing the turn of my key. You are going to start noticing the subtle, profound signs that the hidden preparation is finally giving way to visible, undeniable motion. It will start in small, beautiful ways. A sudden, unexpected phone call that carries a completely different tone. A chance encounter with an old friend that feels incredibly deliberate. A sudden, unexplainable softening in the heart of someone who has been stubbornly opposed to you, showing you that true forgiveness and restored trust, though difficult, have been beautifully earned. You will see a small, persistent green shoot breaking through the concrete of an impossible situation. These are not random coincidences or cheap surprises. These are the distinct, magnificent footprints of my grace, walking directly into your present reality, proving that my unexpected events are always undeniably real and believable. I want you to pay close attention to these small ripples, because they are the immediate precursors to the massive wave of blessing that is currently rushing toward your shore. I feel the emotional intensity rising within your spirit, transitioning from that quiet, beautiful rest into a state of vibrant, wide-awake expectation, forever replacing your previous paralyzing doubt. You are no longer waiting with a heavy, anxious dread. You are standing on your tiptoes, looking out the window, watching eagerly for the arrival of a dear friend. This is the joyful anticipation that I have been wanting to cultivate in your heart since the very beginning, gently encouraging your spirit to continue naturally on this path. Your faith is actively waking up, stretching its wings, and preparing to fly. You finally understand that your profound endurance was never in vain. Every single tear, every moment of biting your tongue, and every night spent praying in the dark was an essential investment into this exact, breathtaking moment of breakthrough. When my timing finally arrives, it moves with a swiftness that will completely leave you breathless. The answers that have been withheld for so long are currently in transit, moving rapidly toward you, acting as the divine catalyst, where the spiritual breakthrough finally begins to breach the surface. They were kept securely in heaven's storage, completely protected from the enemy's interference, waiting for the precise moment when your character was strong enough to receive them. Now that you have successfully passed the test of the wilderness, there is absolutely nothing standing in the way. I am removing the heavy roadblocks. I am silencing the loud voices of opposition. I am making your crooked paths entirely straight, paving a beautifully clear road for this miracle to drive straight into your living room. Allow this rising tide of hope to completely wash over your mind beautifully and completely overriding the loud noises of your external world. You are stepping out of the defensive posture of survival and stepping into the joyful stance of a victor. The bitterness of the long wait is being rapidly eclipsed by the overwhelming thrill of witnessing my hand in motion. I see the tears of relief welling up in your eyes again. But these are not tears of exhaustion. They are the vibrant, sparkling tears of a child who just realized their father has brought them the exact gift they asked for. You are beginning to smile a genuine, radiant smile, feeling the warmth of my love practically vibrating in the air around you, as I show you my profound affection through direct actions, rather than simply stating it from afar. This is the beautiful, thrilling pivot toward your external resolution. You are no longer dreaming about what it might feel like to be delivered. You are actively standing in the doorway of your deliverance. The heavy chains of stagnation are falling from your wrists, clanking onto the floor, permanently broken. I am breathing a fresh, powerful wind into your weary lungs. You are feeling a sudden supernatural surge of energy, experiencing a complete restoration of the passion and purpose that the long wait tried to slowly steal from you, bringing a massive wave of renewed hope. You are completely ready to step forward into the vibrant reality of the restored life I have carefully prepared. Do not allow any lingering shadows of skepticism to dampen this vibrant expectation. When the enemy sees the doors beginning to open He will desperately try to whisper that it is too good to be true, that this momentum will surely fade, or that the blessing will be snatched away at the last possible second, attempting everything in his power to manipulate your fragile emotions. Reject those desperate lies immediately. What I am opening for you right now, absolutely no man can shut. The motion you are witnessing is not a temporary tease. It is the permanent structural establishment of your new season. I am not handing you a fragile temporary fix. I am delivering a profound, lasting restoration that carries the heavy, beautiful weight of my eternal glory. Stay entirely alert, my precious child. Keep your spiritual eyes wide open. The atmosphere around you is crackling with divine electricity, keeping your heart fully engaged and expectant until the very end of this trial. The prayers you whispered years ago, the ones you thought I had completely forgotten, are all converging on this singular, magnificent timeline. I have gathered up every fragmented piece of your broken dreams, every deferred hope, and every silent plea, and I am actively weaving them together into a stunning tapestry of redemption, providing the ultimate gift of second chances. The transition is happening right now, in real time, right before your very eyes. You are watching the master artist complete the final brilliant brushstrokes on the canvas of your long waiting season. Let the beautiful reality of this momentum completely settle into your spirit. You have held on so tightly through the devastating storms, and now you get to experience the unparalleled joy of the morning sun. Your faithful perseverance has become the beautiful, clear runway upon which your miracle is currently landing. Take a deep, vibrant breath of this fresh, shifting air. The heavy scent of the wilderness is gone, replaced by the sweet, undeniable fragrance of sudden blooming. As you stand here, vibrating with hope, and perfectly positioned in my timing, the veil is completely lifting. You understand now with absolute clarity that your profound endurance was not in vain, and that the long-withheld answers are currently in transit, moving swiftly toward you, because you have successfully passed the test of the wilderness. That majestic breakthrough is finally at hand, unfolding right in front of you at this very moment, flooding your reality with a brilliant, undeniable light. Step fully out of the shadows, my child, and look closely at what I have brought to your door. The agonizing delay is replaced entirely by the magnificent unfolding of unexpected grace. You are standing at the epicenter of a divine collision, where your unwavering perseverance meets my infinite generosity. Feel the sudden breathtaking rush of awe washing over you as the heavy fog completely lifts, revealing a landscape so vibrant and beautiful that it instantly brings you to your knees in profound gratitude. You are no longer waiting for a promise. You are actively living inside of its fulfillment. The tears that are beginning to stream down your face right now are completely different from the ones you cried in the dark. These are not tears of exhaustion or desperate pleading. They are the overwhelming, joyful tears of absolute relief and staggering vindication. I want you to carefully unwrap this gift I have placed in your hands. Look closely at the intricate details of this answered prayer. Notice how completely different it is from the original blueprint you handed me so many months ago. When you first came to me in your pain, you asked for a simple way out. You prayed for a basic resolution to your family conflict, a quick end to your financial hardship, and a temporary reprieve from your deep loneliness. But I loved you far too much to give you a mere fraction of what you actually deserved. I allowed the delay because I was meticulously orchestrating a far better, infinitely more beautiful outcome than your human mind could have ever possibly requested or imagined. While you were weeping over the timeline, I was carefully aligning people, resources, and sudden open doors that will completely alter the trajectory of your entire future. The waiting season was never a void. It was the active, complex assembly room of my ultimate provision. I had to change the hearts of those around you, softening their pride, and actively preparing them to offer you the genuine forgiveness and unexpected kindness you are experiencing right now. If I had rushed this process, the relationships you are now seeing beautifully restored would have remained incredibly fragile, doomed to shatter under the slightest pressure. But because I took my time, the healing you are witnessing today is deep, structural, and permanent. You are watching the arrival of genuine second chances that you honestly believed were lost forever. The closed door that caused you so much agony has not just been unlocked. It has been completely removed from its hinges, inviting you to step into a vast, expansive room of renewed hope and unparalleled opportunity. Take a moment to truly absorb the stunning magnitude of my generosity toward you. I am not simply returning what was stolen from you during your wilderness season. I am multiplying it. I am giving you beauty for your ashes, profound joy for your mourning, and a garment of vibrant praise to completely replace the heavy spirit of despair you wore for so long. The deep fear of failure that used to paralyze your every step has been entirely eradicated by the overwhelming evidence of my miraculous provision. Everywhere you look, you are seeing the undeniable fingerprints of my grace. The impossible obstacles that stood like massive mountains in your path have been effortlessly leveled, transformed into a smooth, beautifully paved road that leads directly to your greatest dreams. Your heart, completely emptied of its idols and perfectly positioned in genuine surrender, is now receiving the absolute fullness of my blessing, without any risk of being crushed by its weight. I want you to look back, just for a fleeting second, at the terrified, exhausted version of yourself who was standing on the edge of quitting. Think about the bags you had packed in your mind. Think about how dangerously close you came to completely abandoning your faith, your marriage, and your divine purpose, simply because the silence felt too heavy to bear. I want you to contrast the staggering, massive blessing you are holding in your hands right now with the absolute tragedy of what you would have lost if you had given in to that temporary panic. If you had taken the shortcut, you would have completely missed this magnificent vindication. You would have settled for a life of survival instead of stepping into this incredible season of abundance. You would have permanently forfeited the deep, intimate knowledge of my character that you now possess. Let the profound realization wash over you. Staying was the absolute greatest decision you could have ever made. Your obedience, even when it felt like it was tearing you apart, preserved this glorious destiny. The grit, the resilience, and the quiet trust you demonstrated in the darkest hours have been directly translated into the spectacular reward you are witnessing today. You successfully endured the emotional struggles, the setbacks, and the heavy testing of your spirit, allowing your faith to grow naturally into an unshakable fortress. You did not abort the process, and because you stayed planted in the fire, you have emerged as pure gold, completely ready to shine in the brilliant light of this new day. The vindication you are feeling is not a temporary emotional high. It is the permanent structural establishment of your victory. Watch as my complex perfect plan completely assembles itself right before your amazed eyes. The confusing, isolated pieces of your life that never seemed to fit together are suddenly locking into perfect place, revealing a breathtaking masterpiece of divine orchestration. The painful rejection you suffered years ago suddenly makes perfect sense because it actively protected you for this exact divine appointment. The difficult detour you deeply resented is now clearly visible as the only safe path that could have successfully navigated you around the enemy's hidden traps. Every single tear, every frustrated prayer, and every moment of agonizing confusion is being profoundly validated right now. You are realizing that I never wasted a single second of your pain. I used every ounce of your struggle to carefully construct the magnificent stage upon which this incredible miracle is now taking place. The people around you are watching this brilliant unfolding with absolute astonishment. Those who doubted your path, those who misunderstood your quiet waiting, and those who believed you had been completely forgotten, are now witnessing the undeniable, staggering power of your Heavenly Father. Your life has become a radiant, undeniable testament to the beauty of unwavering faith. But even more importantly than the public vindication, I am pouring a deep, personal, and profoundly intimate validation directly into your soul. I am affirming your worth, your perseverance, and your beautiful identity as my deeply cherished child. I am whispering into your spirit that I am so incredibly proud of you. You trusted me when the sky was pitch black, and now I am honoring that sacred trust by bathing your entire world in the brilliant, warming light of my extravagant grace. Give yourself completely to this overwhelming joy. Do not try to minimize the miracle or brace yourself for the next storm. The enemy will desperately try to tell you that this happiness is fleeting, but I am telling you that this breakthrough is a permanent foundational shift in your reality. The long, heavy night of your weeping is officially over, and the vibrant, glorious morning of your rejoicing has fully arrived. You are surrounded by the beautiful evidence of my compassion, finding profound comfort and an unshakable sense of security in the sudden miraculous shifting of your circumstances. Your hands, once clenched in desperate fear, are now freely receiving the abundant life-changing gifts I have carefully set before you. You have walked through the deepest valleys, you have climbed the steepest mountains, and you have finally beautifully arrived at the summit of your deliverance. As you stand here completely overwhelmed by awe, taking in the spectacular view of your answered prayers and restored dreams, a profound realization settles permanently into your spirit. The miracle itself, as massive and beautiful as it is no longer the most valuable thing in your life. The greatest treasure you possess is the unbreakable, fiercely intimate relationship we have forged together in the heat of the fire. You have found my heart, and I have completely secured yours. This magnificent unfolding of unexpected grace is not the end of our journey. It is the breathtaking beginning of a completely new, radiant chapter, perfectly preparing you to step forward into the ultimate reward of an unshakable, lifelong walk by my side. Step entirely into this unshakable, lifelong walk by my side, and let the sheer magnitude of what we have accomplished together bring your heart into absolute awe. You are standing at the summit of your journey, and the view before you is a breathtaking revelation of my glory. I want you to feel the deep, resonant chord of pure worship rising from the bottom of your soul. This is not the fragile praise you offered when begging for a rescue. This is the robust worship of a victorious child who has seen the absolute faithfulness of their Father. The burdens of doubt are entirely consumed by this radiant light, leaving behind an unwavering trust, reverberating through every fiber of your being. Look at the impossible mountains leveled, relationships miraculously restored, and heavy doors swung open. Your spirit is overflowing with profound gratitude. You are witnessing the undeniable truth that my promises are never empty, and my love for you is an unstoppable force. As you stand here in the brilliant warmth of this new day, I want you to look back one final time at the scared, exhausted person you were at the very beginning of this trial. Do you remember how desperately you wanted to run away? I vividly recall the specific night you sat alone in the dark, entirely drained of hope, completely convinced that your story was ending in permanent failure. Your heart was frantically racing. Your mind was flooded with terrifying worst-case scenarios, and the temptation to simply walk away from your marriage, your calling, or your faith was a deafening roar in your ears. You were running on empty, carrying the crushing weight of a silent season, believing that I had entirely forgotten your name. I saw the bags you had packed in your mind, and I felt the profound, agonizing ache of your breaking heart. But look at how far you have traveled. Look at the staggering distance between that terrified, trembling soul and the magnificent, unshakable believer standing before me right now. I am asking you to pause and celebrate the wise, incredibly resilient believer you have become. You did not merely survive the refining fire. You allowed it to profoundly reshape the very architecture of your soul. The fragile, self-reliant parts of your character have been completely burned away, and what remains is a strong, deeply rooted faith that no storm in this world will ever be able to uproot. You are no longer easily shaken by unexpected changes, nor are you paralyzed by the fear of the unknown. You have learned the sacred, beautiful art of waiting faithfully, actively choosing to trust my heart, even when you could not clearly trace my hand. I am looking at you with the immense overflowing pride of a father who has watched his child bravely pass the most difficult test of their life. You fought the good fight. You held the line when everything screamed at you to surrender to despair, and you have emerged from the wilderness completely victorious, carrying a weight of spiritual maturity that is absolutely breathtaking to behold. Let this glorious arrival forever solidify your complete confidence in my perfect, flawless timing. The agonizing delay that once caused you so much bitter frustration is now clearly revealed as the absolute masterpiece of my divine protection. You now understand with absolute clarity that I was not withholding my blessing to punish you. I was meticulously preparing the blessing so it would perfectly fit the new strength I was building inside of you. You will never again have to question whether I am late. When the next season of waiting inevitably arrives in the future, you will not panic, and you will not rush to find an emergency exit. You will simply smile, anchor yourself in the undeniable history of my faithfulness, and rest in the beautiful knowledge that my clock is perfectly calibrated to bring you the greatest possible good. The painful illusion of the empty season has been entirely shattered, replaced by a joyful expectation for the future. This joyful expectation is not a fragile temporary emotion. It is the new permanent baseline of your entire existence. You are stepping forward with a vibrant, wide-awake anticipation, eager to see how the rest of this beautiful story unfolds. You know that if I was willing to completely transform your darkest night into this magnificent morning, there is absolutely no limit to the glorious chapters I have yet to write for you. The financial hardships, the relational brokenness, and the deep loneliness of your past have been entirely redeemed, serving only as the dark velvet backdrop that makes the diamond of your current miracle shine even brighter. You are walking into tomorrow with your head held high, completely free from the heavy, suffocating chains of dread. The horizon before you is expanding, filled with endless possibilities, divine connections, and abundant life, all securely guaranteed by the unwavering promise of my eternal covenant with you. But in the middle of this spectacular celebration, as you hold the long-awaited miracle in your open hands, I am issuing a powerful, deeply loving invitation to your heart. Please, my precious child, continue walking intimately with me, even after the miracle has fully arrived. It is a common tragic human tendency to cling tightly to the Creator while in the dark, only to slowly drift away once the sun finally begins to shine. Do not let the massive blessing I have just handed you become a distraction that pulls your gaze away from my face. Do not abandon the beautiful, deep relationship we forged together in the midnight hours. The intense, quiet vulnerability you shared with me when your heart was breaking is a sacred treasure. Bring that exact same intimacy into your season of joy. Talk to me in the light, just as fervently as you cried out to me in the shadows. Let our daily conversation transform from desperate pleas into an unending, joyful dialogue of shared delight and mutual love. I want you to finally understand the greatest secret of this entire journey. The true prize was never just the answered prayer. The restored relationship, the open door, and the financial provision are beautiful gifts, but they are entirely temporary. The actual eternal reward you have gained is the unbreakable bond that has been permanently formed between us. We have walked through the fire together, and that shared history has forged a connection that nothing in this universe can ever sever. You know my voice now. You have felt the gentle, protective warmth of my embrace when the whole world felt cold and entirely empty. You have tasted my profound peace, and you have seen the undeniable, staggering power of my grace in motion. This deep experiential knowledge of my character is a treasure of infinite value, completely eclipsing the physical miracles you are currently enjoying. I am your exceedingly great reward, and you are my fiercely loved, entirely cherished child. You are finishing this profound experience completely and entirely healed from the frantic urge to flee. The overwhelming panic that once drove you to the edge of giving up has been permanently erased from your spirit. You are beautifully anchored in complete peace, deeply encouraged by the magnificent unfolding of my sovereign plan, and radiating with a profound, lasting faith that will shine as a brilliant beacon of hope to everyone you meet. You no longer need to exhaust yourself trying to manipulate your circumstances, because you have found your absolute resting place in the center of my perfect will. Take a deep, final cleansing breath of this fresh, victorious air. The heavy, womanizing weight is over. The vibrant season of harvest is here. You can step confidently into this new chapter, knowing beyond any shadow of a doubt that you are fiercely loved, perfectly protected, and eternally secure in my hands. I invite you to pray these words back to me right now. Heavenly Father, thank you for holding me tightly when I was too exhausted to hold on to you. Thank you for the refining fire, the quiet whispers in the dark, and the magnificent miracles that have now blossomed in the light. I release all my past fears, fully trusting your perfect timing for every step of my future. Guide my heart to stay deeply anchored in your love, and let my life forever reflect the profound, unshakable peace I have found in your presence. In Jesus' name, amen.